What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the RPS NBA / MLB show, whatever you want to call it. Me and Tony just wanted to jump on and real quick talk some hoops before we get into this MLB slate. Finally, though, it's just me and you, Tony. What's going on, man? We get to talk some hoops.
Yeah, and we finally filtered out a few of the bad teams. We're working our way to the second round. And the second round should be a lot better than the first round. The first round was good, too, don't get me wrong. But we got rid of a few of those just total scrub teams. So should be good now. I'm excited. I always like when the new series start up, too, because you get a new flow, start to get some new reads. I usually don't love game one. I like to kind of watch game one and then make adjustments off it. But we'll see what we can do here.
Yeah, I mean, we just got one scrub team left, those dang Denver Nuggets. Just get them out of my life. Like, I just want them all to go. Besides Jamal Murray, he's treated me very well. But besides Jamal Murray, just everyone else on that team, just please get them out of my DFS contest. Like, I can't do much more.
What are you slapping now? You're calling out Jokic?
I'm not calling out Jokic.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
No.
I'm just saying, though, Jamal Murray's been the one who I've been riding. So he's the one who I'm obviously happy with. I didn't play as much Jokic as you might have been playing, in this playoff series. I did play him last time, but I haven't been on him as much. I've been more on the Jamal Murray train, but I'm talking more about like the Jeremy Grants and the guys playing huge minutes that just don't do anything. And then we had Monte Morris.
Terrible.
I mean, then we have Monte Morris. He plays like 35 minutes one game, and then the next game he doesn't play in the second half because Malone figured out his best lineup. I mean, come on, Mike Malone is just—he's a train wreck. Tony, what's the odds that Mike Malone starts his best lineup today?
I actually thought he would have until the Gary Harris news. It's obviously the late game, so we'll get to it last. But with Gary Harris coming back, I think it's very unlikely that he comes back with the team that won him the game. I mean, they were down 20 points, I think, in that game. He just randomly fell into the team with his best players, his best young guys. They came back because they had actual threats on the floor and guys that can move their feet a little bit on defense. And they came back and won, and now they're going to go right back, I'm sure, to play these scrubs, and you just never know with Malone.
Yeah, real quick before we dive in, Eric Johnson, he said, Big T, is that you on a Sunday? Where you been? I'll tell you where Big T's been. Dude's been in the Discord. He's been talking up like 10 different sports yesterday. He was literally playing every single sport. But every single sport that was going on, Big T was playing. He was in the Discord, in those channels. That's where Big T was yesterday. I'll tell you that right now, dude.
I got problems in the kitchen, too. I missed the show yesterday because my freaking fridge is leaking water somehow. I thought I fixed it, had it all ready to go. Wake up tomorrow, and there's even more water than yesterday. So we got issues in the Big T house. I don't know what's wrong with my refrigerator. Somehow it's leaking on me. If anyone in the chat knows something about refrigerators, why the hell is my fridge leaking?
We're gonna get Tony's gonna have to rip out his flooring.
No, I'm literally gonna have to rip out my flooring from this refrigerator. Yeah. There's water everywhere.
All right. Well, if someone can help Tony out with that, hit him up in the Discord.
We'll give some good gear too if anyone knows the answer and can hop on and tell me what the deal is. I got some goods for you. He said buy a new one. That's probably what's gonna end up happening. My balls is hot.
I mean, it's got to be. Is it the ice maker? Someone in the chat just said it.
It's an absurd amount of water. So somebody said the water intake line. I don't know how to fix that. I guess I just got to get someone out here. I thought I fixed it. A lot of people are saying they got this here. The connection on the back for the water. No, it's not the connection in the back. I think it's going to the ice maker because what happened is we can go into this because it's our show. We do what we want on here. Winners win. The ice was broke forever, so we got a new filter. The ice worked incredible for like a week, but somebody said probably going to have to lay some pipe. That's true too. But so that's probably what happened. The ice maker. You guys are probably on it. Shut off the water and replace the ice maker water. See, we got some good answers here. Our chat is sharp. I like this.
Yeah, there we go, Tony. So, save some of these answers. Make sure you take a screenshot or something.
I'm picking a few of these for some gear at the end. These guys are, I like these people.
Yeah, no doubt. But Yeah, Tony was supposed to come on the show yesterday, and then he sends me a picture of his floor, and it's all soaked up. And
I didn't send you the picture today. It's even worse. There's water everywhere.
You'll be calling me to come down and help you rip your floor out.
I mean, it is coming.
All right.
The cabinets too, like the cabinets soaked.
Yeah, I mean, you're in big trouble. you're in some trouble here. But this is going to be an NBA and MLB show. So for those of you tuning in, we're going to start off. Me and Tony will break down the NBA 3-gamer slate. And then after we do that, we'll break down the MLB slate. We might have our guy JT come in as well and break it down with us for the MLB slate. So if you're for MLB, just hold on. We'll get to the MLB stuff. If you're both, we're going to start with NBA and then go from there. So Tony, let's start out with this 3-gamer slate. Yesterday it was a pretty good day. I thought as like me, you, AP, the guys at RPS, Mangone, like I felt like we had the right idea, but one thing we did not see was that Lakers game staying close. I think you can agree on that. I mean, what is it with 3-game slates though? Should we be worrying as much about blowouts? Because I feel like yesterday it was people were worrying too much about blowouts. And then the one game we thought wasn't going to blow out was the game that ended up blowing out. So like, what is before we get into this slate, is that just, do we throw out blowouts in a 3-game slate? How do you handle that?
No, so I think it just goes into game theory, which I think is our strength at Run Pure almost. So I think we can weigh the blowouts more in the middle of the series and game ones. I think you can definitely weigh them in game ones too. But like yesterday with those closeout games, I don't think you can weigh them as much in closeout games just because the team that's losing, obviously their season's on the line. The team winning wants to close it out. So really the only way I could see like blowouts mattering in that spot are if the team that was down like 3-1 is blowing the better team out, then maybe everyone rests for the next game. But I don't really weigh it that much, but if the series is like 1-1 or something and it's a blowout, I think you can weigh it. So it's all just game theory, like always in DFS. It depends on the spot. And today, obviously, I don't think there's a blowout spot today. I mean, the Clippers, yeah, it's a blowout spot, but it's also a closeout game like yesterday. So I don't see guys resting. I don't. So I think we're good to go today.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if you do subscribe over at Run Pure, we do I do a little strategy piece in the playbook at the bottom for tournaments. And one thing I remember kind of writing is pretty much just my strategy was I'm going to attack the 2 games that have the blowout risk in tournaments because they were going to be a little lower owned than probably they should have been because of the blowout risk. And I was going to be underweight on the game that was going to be heavily owned, which was the OKC Houston game. Just from a game theory standpoint, I felt like on this 3-game slate, if we got what we got yesterday, which was that game blowing out, then you're massively, ahead of the field if you attack either game 1 or game 3, which I hope a lot of our members did. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's all on game theory, and I think you got to weigh that a lot when you're attacking these 3-game slates. So let's bring it to this slate. We got Toronto versus Boston as the first game. Now, this is the first game of the series. We haven't seen these teams play yet in the playoffs. They did play once in the bubble, and I'm pretty sure it was the only game that Toronto lost in the entire bubble. If I remember correctly, they lost only one game, and it was to Boston. Now, Boston did have Gordon Hayward for that game. He's obviously not playing today. But I do think this is going to be a very tight series. I respect Toronto. I respect Boston's. I think both these teams are very solid. They've got some solid pieces off the bench. What are we thinking here from this game, Tony? Do you like this game? Is this a game you're going to stay away from? How are you attacking it?
Yeah, I agree. Like the East is going to be awesome because all year long we had 4 teams for the most part, clearly better than the rest. And we got those 4 teams now. They got rid of the scrubs underneath them. We disposed of them. Now we get onto these big series. So, yeah, two really good teams. I don't think Gordon Hayward doesn't mean anything to me. I don't think it really shifts anything as far as the numbers. I don't think the spreads would be different. The series wouldn't be different. He's just a nice piece. Like he's nice. Don't get me wrong. He's good to have in there, but it's not going to change anything. So, yeah, good series, big minutes. This is the perfect example of like huge minutes. I mean, all these guys are going to play upwards of 40 minutes, high 30s to 40 minutes. So I think it's good. And there's a lot of pieces we can go to that make a lot of sense. We just got to, like always, you got to kind of choose Lowry or Van Vliet. Now that they're playing against another good team, I don't think you can use guys like that together. At least I wouldn't, just because there's too many good pieces. I know you do it sometimes, so I'm interested to hear what you think about that. But it's tough for me to play them together just because it's a tough spot. But these minutes, I mean, I do like the Boston side more. I don't really know who they have that can guard Tatum. So I definitely like him. Jaylen Brown feels too cheap on both sides, really. I think these wings are going to be the advantage for Boston. And the guards, I think, will be a little bit of an advantage for Toronto. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, so I will say to start, if we're talking about the Toronto guards to start, I do like sometimes pairing both the guards together because, again, a lot of people make the decision of one or the other. So playing them both in the same lineup is going to differentiate you from a lot of the field who are playing these guys. So if they're 30 to 40% owned, but only 10% of that have both of them together, and they both play 38 to 40 minutes, which they will in a close game. We can tell you that. Like, as long as there's no foul trouble and they're fully healthy, they both play 38 to 40 minutes in these playoff games. Even in the regular season, they were playing big minutes. So they'll definitely see big minutes. So that's one of the reasons why I do like doing it. I do think Siakam guards Jason Tatum. I mean, if Jason Tatum is a tough guard, no matter who's playing him, it doesn't even matter. He's just a mismatch, no matter what.
Come on, my balls is hot. My balls is hot. Says Siakam's going to lock him up. Siakam is not locking up Tatum.
Listen, Siakam is a good defender. We're not making.
He's a good defender on guys that aren't taking you 38 feet from the hoop.
Right. The Jason Tatum is just he can do everything. I mean, he's a problem. He's a problem for anyone guarding him. So look at Luka. Like I'm not saying that Luka and Tatum are the exact same, but I'm just saying, like, we all thought that Kawhi and PG were going to give Luka problems, but like they really didn't. Like, Luka's done what he wanted to. You know what I mean? On a bum ankle, may I add. So I mean, I don't know. Like I think from this game, though, I agree with you. The Boston side, I like a little more, but I do like some of these secondary pieces from Toronto as well. Like, I do think Siakam on the other side, offensively, he's starting to kind of turn around a little. He's being more aggressive. He's looked a little better the last couple games, so I don't mind him. The secondary guys like Serge Ibaka, Norman Powell. Toronto is a team where you could see them going small against Boston, like easily. They could go small, which could mean more minutes for Powell. And I don't think they make the same mistake that Philadelphia made on the pick and rolls with Kemba Walker. Like, I can't see them just letting Kemba Walker come off screens and just be free to shoot jump shots, like right off the pick and roll. Like, you assume that these big guys are going to be able to step up and force him to kind of get to either go to the hoop or pass, as opposed to come off free and clear and shoot, which was one of the biggest reasons why Kemba Walker had a good series against Philadelphia. Joel Embiid just kept sagging into the paint. Like, if Marc Gasol does that, they're going to pull him out. So I like the Ibaka call because I think he's agile enough to step up and somewhat force Kemba to make a decision to drive or pass. So he makes more sense in this matchup to me to have on the floor. And then Norman Powell, like, I think Norman Powell is another guy you can throw on Kemba Walker. Not that he can guard Kemba Walker, but he's a decent defender. He's a little bigger. You don't want, like, against Kemba, you want someone who's a little bigger but can still move and stuff. And I think Norman Powell makes a lot of sense too. So I like those two secondary pieces. I like pairing them with the Kembas, the Jaylen Browns, like you said, the Tatums, that type of build. So I'm probably going to be heavy on this game. anyone else that you see though, Tony, like as we go down? Like, do you like Marcus Smart? Do you like OG? And anyone in this like lower 5K and below range for this game?
Yeah, so I like these pieces, and I like this game too. I'm with you where I want to kind of focus on this game a little bit. I know it's the first game, but it's just you got a lot of minutes that are guaranteed in this spot. So I like it. Yeah, I mean, I like Marcus Smart. I like these guys that people aren't going to be on because they sucked in the first series, but it's matchup. The NBA is all matchups, and I think he matches up better in this series against Toronto, who I think this series goes pretty small for sure. Where I do think Thies gets some good run though. Like I like Thies even. I mean, he's 4,300 on DK. He is 47 on Fanduel. I like those prices, and honestly, I like those prices way more than like Surge, who's over 6K, who I don't think matches up near as good in this series. And I mean, you look at Surge, like the last two games, he absolutely smashed, but he only played 20 minutes both games. He just literally crushed in those minutes because he was going against Brooklyn. So I don't necessarily like him, but Norman Powell, I love Norman. Norman and Smart are kind of the two guys in that range that I think get a big boost this series that didn't get a boost last series. I like OG a little bit. I just hate guys that suck on offense. People that have listened to me talk about NBA for the last 5 years know I just hate guys like this, that the only way he crushes is getting steals and blocks and stuff like that. He's 4,700. I can't do it. So
you hate like bad basketball players?
Yeah, I hate bad basketball. Like I hate guys that if they were built like me would just suck. Like I hate people like that. He's super athletic, so obviously he's valuable. He's the one that's going to guard Tatum, by the way. It isn't going to be I'm sure OG is going to be on him just because he's the best build to guard him. So, yeah, for me, it would be the two guards for Toronto, and Norm Powell would be like the three. I'm not as high on Pascal. I think Boston matches up decent with. I don't dislike him because of his minutes. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He just is a little bit behind the guards for me. And then Boston, yeah, I love Tatum. I love Jalen. I like Smart, like Thies a little bit. I'm like you, though. I'm high on this game.
Yeah, I will say, too, again, I think Toronto, from a defensive standpoint, is going to force guys like Smart, like force Kemba to make decisions where he's not just the one taking all the shots and coming off pick and rolls free and clear to shoot. So, like, that's going to give the secondary pieces like the Marcus Smarts and other guys like these, they're going to make these guys shoot when they're on the floor, which means that like their shots might go up a little bit. And Thies has shown some range. Like he's shown at least that he'll take the long shot, which is good. I don't know if I like him as much as you do, but I don't mind him at the price tag. And yeah, I mean, my dog's going nuts. I don't think my dog likes Daniel Thies either. Maybe he thinks he's a bad basketball player like OG Anunoby. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think that this game is the most interesting game for me. I think this game will be the one I'm heaviest on. Any interest in like Enes Kanter? I don't have any interest in him.
Definitely not Kanter.
Anyone else that we're missing before we move on? Like
I don't even think Kanter, like, I can't think of a worse spot. So Kanter, again, I was on him all last series when he's playing Brooklyn, who has no bigs, who couldn't stop anyone in the paint. Now we play a team like Toronto that is a horrible matchup for Kanter. Like, if Marcus Gasol sucks, but Marcus Gasol is Kanter's daddy. Like, if they're on the floor together, Kanter is not going to beat up Marcus Gasol. He's a big fat dude that is going to just body him up, and he's not going to go to work on him. So, and if he's not on the floor, there's no one he's going to be able to guard. So either way, I mean, I'm definitely off Kanter for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think we hit on this game. Let's move on to the next game, the Clippers versus the Mavericks. The Mavericks obviously have a few people that are questionable. We assume that these guys are all going to play. Luka, Tim Hardaway, these guys are all questionable. Dorial Finney-Smith, questionable. Trey Burke, questionable. But, I mean, they're going to play, right, Tony? It's just like we assume, right? I don't know though. We
I'm
assumed
definitely
KP was
planning on them
gonna.
playing.
We assumed Porzingis was gonna play that game, and Luka was possibly the one that would sit.
That was
if anyone,
weird too.
if
And
it
now
was
he's
the
out for the
opposite.
year. Like, what happened to him? He just rolled it in warm-ups or something? I don't get it.
I don't know. I have no idea what happened. He tore his meniscus. I don't know how he
You
did
knew
it.
he was hurt too, right? When he missed, like it had to be serious. Just out of nowhere, he just is out.
Yeah. You don't miss because of a sore knee in a playoff game. Like, not if it's a sore knee. Like, they knew that there was a possibility it was something worse than that. But yeah, I mean, so let's talk as if these Dallas guys are all in, because I mean, obviously, if they were all out, this is probably going to be a blowout, and you're going to play some cheap guys, but it's not going to matter anyways. Like these Clippers would be off to me. But let's talk as if they're all in. Let's start with Luka. What are we doing here? He's 11-2 on DraftKings, and then he's 11-4 on Fanduel. What are you doing here with Luka?
So I'm just fading him. I mean, I think he's banged up. I think the Clippers figured things out a little bit last game. They looked a lot better. I mean, we always have these game theory takes on these 3-game slates. We got a super late game, we got an early game, and we got this middle game that's clearly like there's a lot of unknown about it. There's a blowout spot possibly where the Clippers just pound them. There's tons of bodies. Both teams go 10 deep, basically. I don't want to say I'm completely ignoring it, because if news hits, I will definitely circle back and have pieces. But I'm 100% not playing Luka. Like, that is, I love pieces in the late game. I love all the guys, and everybody's priced up, like the Toronto and Boston guys, the Denver and Utah guys. Like, people have price tags. I just like those games better, honestly. I'm definitely not playing Luka. And if everyone's in from Dallas, like, I can't, like, even Trey Burke is priced up now. Curry's priced up. Boban's priced up. Like, all these guys are priced up. I couldn't even imagine, honestly, playing any Clip or any Dallas guys as long as everyone's in. And then you circle to the Clippers side real quick, and then you can talk about the whole thing. Same thing, basically. Like, I like Pat Bev maybe at 3,500, where if he's starting, he's super cheap, which allows us to get up to some studs. But I need to see him in the starting lineup, and we don't know for sure because he's been out. So I don't think they play him. Like, I don't know. Like, what's his status right now officially?
So Pat Bev has been upgraded to questionable. So the upgrade is good, because that means that he's got to be on the right track to play. Yeah. Now, maybe he still has to test it out in warm-ups and see how he feels, right before the game. But, I mean, with the upgrade, you think that he's feeling better today, and he's feeling like he can play. Now, I mean, does he play? I really don't know. The upgrade makes me think, though, that he will play. That's just my thought. Yeah. But again, I'm with you. I want to see him in the starting lineup. I want to see him confirmed. And I don't think we get that.
Definitely not before the first lock.
No, because, again, I think he's going to go out. He's going to test it. He's going to see how he feels. So, to me, this game, you have to play it one of two ways. Either you're playing this game as it's a blowout and you're going to play some secondary Clippers, or you're just going to play like Kawhi Leonard and hope he just dominates in the 3 quarters he plays, or you're going to play like a Trez Harold and some of these like Pat Bev, some of the cheaper guys where they don't need to do a ton to make value in a blowout. So that and then from the Dallas side, it's like, if you're going to play Luka, then you should probably play like, a Luka with Tim Hardaway Jr., Seth Curry, Trey Burke, like one or two of those cheaper guys with Luka. Because if you're playing Luka, you pretty much need this game to stay close, right? At that price tag, you need a somewhat close game. You need him to be taking 30 shots again, like he did, 2 games ago, where they won at the very end of the game. Like, he took 31 shots. He took 21 shots in the first game, and then in games 2 and 3, he took 17 and 14, and then he took 31 in game 4 and then 17 again. He needs to be taking like 25 to 30 shots in this game. Only way that this team wins is on his back, and so it's the only way. He needs to be more aggressive. But if you're rostering him, I will say it again, you should be rostering one or two more of these Dallas guys, probably bringing it back with someone from the Clippers, and hope this game stays close because, I mean, I'm probably going to be heavier on game 1, so I won't have as much of Luka just because of game 1, the salaries that you have to pay for the Fred VanVleets, the Siakams, the Lowrys, the Kemba, Jaylen Brown. But again, that would be my strategy if I was making a game stack, or if I was making a team with Luka. It would be a game stack. It would be with multiple Dallas guys, and it would be bringing it back with a Kawhi, a Lou Williams, someone like that. Anything else, Tony, that you like before we move on? Like, is there anyone else we missed? Like, I think from the Dallas side, if you're playing those cheap guys, it's like Trey Burke, it's Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway's like mid-price. He's like $6K, but like he's in play. Like, anyone else I'm missing?
No, I mean, I should clarify too. Like, I think you're going to have to play at least one or two cheap guys from this game. Like, we just need to wait for news. So it's tough to say right at this second just who's going to play. We'll be in the Discord, though, like always, to talk about it. But like, there's just so many good guys in the first and third games that you're going to need value somewhere. And I do think this is where, like, I can almost guarantee you I'm going to play either Beverly, or if he's out, pivot to Shamot or Reggie Jackson. I hate both of those guys, but this is a slate where you're going to have to find one or two cheap guys. Like, you just have to. There's too many good priced up guys that, like, Reggie Jackson's been pretty good. I'm not a Reggie Jackson guy, but if Beverly's out, I'll probably play Reggie. And Harrell was awesome last game, finally, after we've played him the whole series. He's still 4,400. I'll probably have some Harrell too, honestly. And then the Dallas side, we just got to see who's in and out. I mean, nobody sticks out, though, for me from the Dallas side. I think these prices are a lot more fair. I mean, Burke and Curry are priced up. Those are my two guys, though. If I had to pick two, it'd be those two, even though I think they're priced up higher than they should be.
Yeah, again, they're going to get a bunch of shots, right? At least we know.
Yeah.
At least we know they'll take the shots, right? We want guys that'll at least try and score. So that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just Reggie Jackson. To me, I don't like Reggie Jackson. Bad basketball.
He's been good though, man.
Oh God, I get it though. He's cheap. Pat Beverly would have to be out. But
yeah,
I'm probably
definitely. We need to be clear. Like, you're definitely not playing him if Pat Bev is in there.
Yes, yeah. I'll take Pat Bev over both those guys any day.
I hope he's in there. Like, optimally today, just say Beverly starting, which I'm still iffy on. I don't think he's going to start. I think they might rest him one more game. But best case scenario, he's in that starting lineup, and we just click that lock button on Pat Bev at 3,500.
Yeah, I mean, if he starts, he's a pretty solid play to me. I think that's it. Let's move on to your Denver Nuggets versus the Utah Jazz. Tony, we get word that Gary Harris is most likely going to play today. That kind of screws up what we were thinking. Maybe Malone kind of figured out from that lineup that he used to kind of finish the last game out with Dozier, Porter Jr., Grant, Jokic, Murray. Like, that was the lineup. I think at least me and you, we've been waiting for that type of lineup this whole time.
Not that type of lineup, like that exact lineup.
No, this whole time, though.
Yeah.
And he just finally fell. You said it to me. You go, I think he just fell into it. Like,
he did. He gave up. They were down 20, and he's like, okay, screw it. Let's just play some guys that can score and actually play basketball, young guys. And then it worked.
Yeah, I don't get it. Malone is just one of those guys. Like, you can't trust anything he does. He gives Millsap 35 minutes
from a
one
perspective,
game.
Though, from the outside, just imagine playing Torrey Craig and Paul Millsap over PJ Dozier and Michael Porter Jr.
I can't. I don't think it would ever happen. Like, Torrey Craig, to me, like,
he's bad.
Just never. Just
because he gives a little more effort on defense. Like, come on.
No. Yeah, it's just, again, bad basketball players. We don't play bad basketball players. And I don't get it. Now, Gary Harris is going to mess us all up, though, right? Because now Dozier, to me, is like a stay away no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter if they say Gary Harris is only going to play like 20 or 25 minutes. That's definitely going to affect Dozier, Monte Morris, like these guys that you were hoping like one of them would start and play big minutes if Gary Harris was out. And now we don't get that. Does it affect Michael Porter Jr. at all? Tony, I'm gonna ask you that, because he's a guy whose his price has finally come down to a point where I can go back and look at him again. What do you think?
So people like me because I have hot takes and I go with it on my own. I play these takes by myself and my 888 or whatever the entry is today on DK and Fanduel. The big ones, I go with it. I go with my takes. And my take today will be different than most. No one's going to play PJ Dozier. He's 3,100. I'm going to trust that Malone is going to – I don't need a ton of run. If he gives me 15 to 20 minutes from PJ Dozier at 3,100, I'm fine with it. I'm playing him in MPJ for sure. MPJ is 5,500. Their season's on the line. They made a big push last game. And the best part about all this is the late game. We're not going to have news. People are scared of Gary Harris like we just talked about. I could see him starting this team still, the good team. Or if not, going to it right away. Like maybe he starts Gary Harris. Gary looks a little slow. They get down 10, and he just goes back to this nut lineup. PJ Dozier, if Gary Harris is in there, PJ Dozier will be 1% owned on a 3-game slate at 3,100, which lets us get so much of the star power in. I can't wait to click the lock button on my boy PJ Dozier. Like, I know no one's going to play him. This is, again, it's my preference that I or whatever the word is that I always give. If you don't like variance, and if you're going to get in the chat and whine like, oh, Big T said to play PJ Dozier and he played 7 minutes tonight, don't do it. That's fine. I will do it. You look at my team, and it'll the 888, and all my teams will say PJ Dozier on it at 1% owned. And when he catches 25 to 30 minutes a run because it's our best team and it's the team we need to win this series, I'm going to feel good in that victory circle because I'm playing PJ Dozier and MPJ. You can bank on that.
Okay. Reasons why JSU does not like PJ Dozier at all. Reason 1, Mike Malone. Reason 2, Mike Malone. Reason 3, Mike Malone. Yeah. You are trusting a coach that gave this guy 20 minutes without Gary Harris. Now Gary Harris comes back. He's going to see 20 to 25 minutes.
Let's go, Coop. Like, I see you, Coop. 100%. Danny Lee -2 through 2. I see you, all Danny right. Lee.
All right.
You saw him in my core today on JSU. You saw him in my core, Danny Lee.
Yeah, I saw him in your core. But that's our guy, Danny Lee. He's got to be in your core.
Yeah.
Danny Lee.
Stop talking about PJ Dozier. Don't disrespect him.
No. Hold on. This guy took, in 20 minutes, he took one shot last game. One shot.
Yeah, don't play him.
Jamal Murray is he is in a different type of mode right now where he is just doing everything. I mean, the guy took 31 and 26 shots his last 2 games, played 41 minutes or more. When he's on the floor, this dude is just chucking. And then obviously they got Jokic. I talk about it all the time. They play the damn 2-man game where it's pretty much just Jokic and Murray. Everything runs through those two. So it's like pick and roll. You know, they double, he passes it to Jokic. They don't double, he's coming off probably shooting or getting to the rim. What happens is everyone else is just standing in the corner or in the wing like, hey, I'm here. Like, pass me the ball if you want. Like, there's not a lot of like movement in their offense. Like they don't, Jamal Murray just takes everything over. He doesn't like do a great job distributing and getting more people involved. Because if he did, he'd have a ton of assists all the time. Like he would have so many assists all the time, double-digit assists, guaranteed. But he doesn't because he just chucks. So it hurts the secondary guys, the Jeremy Grants, the PJ Doziers, Michael Porter Jr. I'm with you, though. At 5,500, Michael Porter Jr. does enough where I could play him and just pray that Mike Malone doesn't pull him and lets his one of his best players just stay in the game for 30 minutes, like pray at 5,500. But PJ Dozier, nope, I don't trust Mike Malone. Just can't do it. I just can't.
Good.
I respect you.
I don't want you on him, JSU.
That's fine. That's fine. If he ships you, I'll be happy for you. If he ships for you, I will be very happy for you. And I will come on this show the next day and I will say I was wrong and Big T was right. But
are we on the show together tomorrow so I can hear this apology?
Yeah, well, wait a second, though. I'm still waiting for the Torrey Craig in 7 minutes to score 12 fantasy points.
You guys taking a victory lap over freaking Torrey Craig. Like,
no, you said it. You literally said, I'm still waiting for you to say, JSU, I was wrong. He didn't score 12 fantasy points
in 3 minutes.
First 7 minutes of the game or whatever it was.
12 points in 3 minutes.
All right, so Tony, you like PJ Dozier. Are you going to play? I'm assuming you're going to play like Jokic. What about Murray at 8,600? Like, what are you doing with him?
Yeah, I might play Murray over Jokic, as crazy as it is, as good as he's been. Like, I like both of them. So I have to get to building the teams and roster construction because honestly, I haven't built a team yet. But yeah, I'm playing 5 Nuggets. Obviously probably not on the same team, but I'll probably pick 3 of the 5 between Jokic, Murray, MPJ, Dozier, and then Jeremy. I still think Jeremy Grant's in play. He's been terrible, but he's played 40 minutes, and he's going to continue to play 40 minutes. So, I mean, he was 4 for 12 last game. He had 23 fantasy points. He only got 6 boards. I still think we could have like a 35-point fantasy game from Jeremy at some point where like the rebounds fall to him. I feel like he's hit his floor a little bit the last couple of games. Like he hasn't got any loose balls, like not many blocks type things. I think he's definitely still in play playing 40 minutes and he's not going to get less minutes. Like there's no way he goes back to Millsap over like Jeremy Grant for the big minutes. There's just no way. So I still like Jeremy.
Millsap, like even when Millsap had a good game, they still played Jeremy Grant big minutes. So yeah, you're right. He's the one guy, at least from a minute standpoint, I guess I worry about the least if you're talking about the guys besides Murray and Jokic. And yeah, I could see that. I could see playing, some Jamal Murray. The problem is that I probably won't have any Jamal Murray just because I'm going to have guards from this first game. And it's going to be hard to play, you play Lowry and Kemba or Van Fleet and Lowry or however you do it. It's going to be hard to fit in Murray with those guards. So I'll probably have less. I've been riding the Murray train for a while. This will probably be where I jump off and hope he doesn't pull out another 60 burger like he's been doing or 70, whatever it was. Because, I mean, that dude's been on fire. Yep. Tony, I think we broke this 3-game slate down pretty good.
We didn't talk about the Utah side.
Do we need to talk about the Utah side?
Yeah, we got to talk about the Utah side.
Oh, God. All right, Tony. Talk about the Utah side.
Donovan Mitchell, they don't have an answer for him still. Like, I know he's 9,700 on DK, but he's 8K on Fanduel. So, Fanduel, I think he's borderline lock. DK, I know I've gone to this well twice in the games he's been overpriced, and I've been wrong. Like, he hasn't gone off in these spots. I'm still not writing him off, though, because they don't know how to guard him. No one's going to play him at 9,700. Literally no one. He's going to be 10% owned on a 3-game slate. And maybe less, probably less, honestly. Like no one, and he's in the late game on top of it. Like literally no one is going to play Donovan Mitchell. He's got a 66-point game and a 81-point game in this series alone. I'm playing some Donovan Mitchell. It might not be on my main team because I do like the Boston-Toronto guys with you. But if I'm playing 3 teams or 20 teams, I'm definitely going to play some Donovan Mitchell. And I'm still mad at you, by the way, for playing Ingles the other day. I've touted Ingles as the worst play on earth, and then you told me you played him.
Tony, he literally, small forward was an abomination.
Yeah, I agree, on FanDuel especially.
And he fit into my lineup perfectly. I had $400 left over. I could have played him or who was it? Finney Smith or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
you should have played Finney Smith.
No, at least Joe Ingles has a little upside. Finney
Oh,
Smith, that
no,
guy
he doesn't. Stop.
That guy is just awful.
If anyone's watching this right now, I better not see Joe Ingles in your lineup tonight because he is a terrible play.
I might just play him despite Big T today.
Oh, no.
Because Joe Ingles has won me so much money. I love Joe Ingles.
Yeah, but not with Conley and Mitchell in.
No, I will say, we got to remember, though, that was a slate. Like, the small forward position was just so bad. There was no way to go. There was nowhere to go. So I didn't want to play
Finney Smith was a game-time decision, Mangone says. You didn't know he was going to play. Yeah, he was going to play the whole time. Stop. Ingles was a horrible play.
He was – listen, Ingles fell into what he fell into because in the second half, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, because he has zero usage, literally zero usage.
No. He fell into those steals. I mean, he got lucky, obviously. But again, whatever. Like, that's what happens. You got to play someone. He fell into my lineup, Tony. Sue me, all right? I played Joe Ingles. I'm not going to play him today unless literally, like, it's the same thing where, like, it's just I don't have anywhere else to go. Like, you force me into a play. I'm not going to play friggin' PJ Dozier, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right. Anyone else from the Utah side? I mean, Conley's going to be popular. I mean, I'm not playing Conley. I think from a safety standpoint, like, he's probably going to give you 30. But I don't know. Like, again, he's another guy. Mitchell just takes up too much where he just hurts everyone around him, including Conley. 6,600, Tony. Yay, nay? What do you think?
No, I mean, he's like the perfect example. Like, if I got to the end of my team and I fell on Conley as my last dude, like, I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like, he's fine. He'll probably get you 30 fantasy points range. So he's fine, but I'm definitely not excited to play him. He's fine, though. He's a good last in guy. Is a perfect way to put it.
Oh, Tony, I hate to see it. How could you play Mike Conley when the usage and just, 6,600?
I don't like Conley. I would definitely take Conley over Ingles fantasy points for the max, though.
I mean, if price didn't matter, like,
they're not that far off. Like, they're $1K difference.
It's $1,200 difference. I'm pretty sure 13, whatever it is.
I'll give you 5 fantasy points. I'll lay 5. Ingles is going to get like 16 fantasy points tops tonight. I hope that guy in chat that says Ingles is getting 44 fantasy points. What is Mitchell going to crash on the way to the friggin'? He's not even in a car, so that can't happen. Like, is he going to get on the train that takes him from the hotel to the freaking gym and go off road or something?
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. 44.
Gobert is definitely a fade. Gobert has not been near as good as people think he's been in this series.
Yeah, no, Gobert for me. I'd much prefer Jokic if I was spending up at center. But yeah, the Utah side to me, I'm just staying away. Again, Donovan Mitchell on Fanduel makes a lot of sense at 8K. I think that's way too cheap for him on DraftKings. I'm probably going to stay away. But again, we talk about game theory. I get why you want to play him. He's probably
the price is a joke. Like, I'll be honest. Like, the price is way too high. But again, it's game theory. Like, if he gets 65, the price isn't too high, and I think he could get 65. So I definitely think he's in play.
Yeah. Hey, that's fine. 3 games.
You like doing that? Like, I do that a lot where, like, I know a guy's overpriced, but everyone knows he's overpriced, right? So then you circle back and say, okay, I'll play him. Like, if he outscores Luka and these stars, you're going to win. It's that simple.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do it all the time. It just, every slate's a little different. It just kind of depends on where you're.
It is tougher to play him, though. I do agree with you on that. Like, these early guards are nice, and there's a lot of good high priced guys. Which circle back to PJ Dozier, which is why he's going in my lineup, because he's a winner, and winners win.
Tony, I will say one thing about you is you will always find someone to spend down on. You always like.
I love it. That's how I like to build them.
Yeah. No, I respect it because it's the same.
I was
process.
so mad yesterday. I mean, this is when we're on the show by ourselves, we can do what we want. My man K Fallick yesterday, I was talking to him. I was talking up. I needed one cheap guy just like today. So I said, I got to play my man Starvin Marvin. And he just made fun of me about hurt my feelings, So I ended up playing Mario Hezonja instead, who sucks, who's terrible. And Starvin Marvin just pulled out the old salami sandwich and just got it done yesterday. Hurt my feelings.
Yeah, he made a bunch of threes at the end of the game. So, yeah.
I mean, but just when
hurts.
you needed a cheap guy, though, and he hung a 25-piece, oh,
no,
real
yeah,
tasty.
that definitely hurt. It helped me, though, that Covington did his thing on FanDuel because that was big on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But, again, I think we hammered this slate down. Let's move on to the baseball. I think our guy JT is going to jump in with us to talk about some baseball. So before we get to this, while JT's getting in, we got 345 people watching and 83 likes. Tony, swag.
No, JT's on here now. Give him he hasn't been on the whole show, but he's got his line that he usually tells them. I always forget what word he uses, but JT, when they don't give us enough likes, like what do you tell them?
It's hurtful.
I mean, it's very hurtful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching and I was disgusted by the lack of likes that were coming. I wasn't even going to jump on because they're so ungrateful today. There's some dude, I don't know who he is, the Wizard. He's freaking me out.
Oh, the Wizard's painful.
He's scary. I mean, that's like serial killer stuff. But what's going on, guys? What's going on?
I mean, peace and love to everyone, just like.
Yeah, I don't know. He's doing something with the Dozier, too. That scares me. I don't know. Doesn't sound good.
All right. Well, now we got our guy JT on. Hit that like button, guys. We appreciate it. Let's get some. We want to give out some swag. Tony, he feels obligated to give some out after all the help with the refrigerator stuff, but we still can't give it out if we don't get it.
I gotta give credit too, though. Like since we've talked about it, I probably got 10 DMs in here, people trying to help me. The Rum Pier community, that's not hurtful. That's the opposite of hurtful. You guys looking out for me and my leak in the old kitchen. I appreciate
it's pleasurable. It's pleasurable.
It's pleasurable. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I mean, let's dive into this MLB slate because we got a nice.
Hold on one more second, JSU.
Yeah.
Like, Paul said the Wizard about to win some RPS swag. Incorrect. The Wizard is not going to win some swag. I guarantee that because the Wizard, he's not going to win the swag.
Yeah, no.
I think that's Travis that jumped in as the Wizard. That's Travis.
I believe it.
Travis's chat name.
It's Travis. Hey, no making fun of Travis. I love Travis. It's that Mangone guy I want to get rid of. Travis I want to keep. All right. So let's dive into it though. Let's talk about this. Let's start from the pitching standpoint. And JT, I'm going to bring it to you first. We start at the top. What are we looking at here at the top for pitching? We got this 9K range. Let's talk about this 9K range.
Yeah, so look, I never thought I'd ever utter the words that Kenta Maeda is the top option on any slate, but these two teams played a doubleheader. Maeda's been great. He's been absolutely phenomenal. These Tigers strike out a lot, so it's him and Snell at 1-2 for me. Snell gets a Marlins team that strikes out a lot, and then nobody ever plays Savali, and Savali just quality start after quality start. He threw a complete game against the Pirates last week. But if I was going to rank them, it would be Maeda, Snell, and then Savali, a little bit of a distant third. Because I think Maeda has 10 or 11K upside.
All right. Tony, starting with you. I mean, this 9K range looks pretty good to me. What do you think with this 9K range? JT says Maeda is the top pitcher on the slate. Savale is another strong option, and then Snell would be his third if he was ranking this range. Do you have a different take, or are you more on board with JT?
So for me, I think clearly the top pitcher is Blake Snell. I mean, he 9,200. He went out 90 pitches and then 100 pitches, which is like a million pitches for this Tampa Bay staff. He's got a great park. He's got a great matchup. I think he's great, but again, the top of the pitching is incredible today. I mean, we got Woodruff is in a good spot. Castillo's in a pretty good spot. Maeda has one of the best umps too, which makes him off the charts good too. So, and Savali, like JT said, I mean, all these guys are in play, and we got a really good cheap play to kind of go with it at the bottom when we get to the bottom of the pitching. So, Yeah, I love all these guys at the top. I would for sure rank Blake Snell my number one, though. Why not Snell, JT?
No, I said Maeda and then Snell, and actually.
Oh, you said no. I didn't hear the Snell part.
In the play, and I think it's close, Tony, because the way those Tigers strike out, and the fact this is me, right? I never like picking out or going for offense on teams that played a doubleheader the day before. There's not enough of a sample because they don't do it as frequently as they used to. But I was on the show the other day, and I said, look, there were 5 teams that played a doubleheader that traveled. All of those teams scored like 1 or 2 runs, right? I think the most got 3. This Tigers team isn't good. Every now and then they break out. Usually it's against the lefty. So for me, and what I said in the playbook is my most frequent pairing is going to be either Maeda or Snell with Woodruff. And you talked about Woodruff there. We were talking about the 9K range, but there's some other pitchers you could go to. I just, that for me is where I think the strikeouts are.
One issue, too, I have with Maeda is he obviously had the one start that was going to be a no-hitter where he went a ton of pitches, but he's been in the 80s every other start. Like, you got to think he's going to be in the 80s. It has to cap his upside at least a little bit.
I mean, that's a good point. He did get a longer leash because he didn't give up a hit in that game.
Like, he wouldn't have still been in there if he gave up a hit, right?
No way. But with Snell, man, I mean, you're right. He's clearly the ace on that staff. And I think, and Glasnow hasn't gotten the leash yet because he's been kind of bad. But he's definitely the one guy that Kevin Cash is going to let run if he's pitching well. And this Marlins team against lefties, I'm not worried about it.
I like it.
Yeah. So you brought up Woodruff, JT. Tony, let's start with Woodruff here as we go down. I mean, to me, in the next range, he is the clear guy with the highest upside, at least from a strikeout standpoint. Do you agree? Do you like Woodruff today? Is he one of your favorite pitchers in this mid-range?
Yeah, he's easily in my top 3. This Pirates team got a second look at Brett Anderson yesterday, and they lit him up a little bit and hit the bullpen a little bit. A second look at Brett Anderson is good for almost any team. The RPS team would score about 5 or 6 runs if we got a second look at Brett Anderson. So the Pirates
not me. I would not score any runs.
Confidence. The Pirates team strikes out so much against righties, and that park is a park that's not the greatest offensively. And on the flip side, I expect the Brewers to score a few runs today. So I like Woodruff's strikeout upside. I like his win upside, and he's again another one of really the only pitcher on that staff, I think, that Craig Counsell is going to give any rope. So I think he's got upside to go into the 7th or 8th inning, which you can't really say about many pitchers today or on any given day this year.
All right. So, Tony, Woodruff to me, again, like I said, is the clear option here. Talk about Woodruff, and then is there any other guys you see as you kind of go down in this 8, 7, 6K range? Like, who are the guys you're targeting?
Yeah, so I like these slates like this because it's super cut and dry for me. Like the guys we talked about at the top, Snell, then I'd probably rank Woodruff number 2 more than likely, and then Castillo and Savale would be the 4 at the top. But as I work my way down, the only guy below that range is this Dane Dunning because he's 4,500. He went 73 pitches. It was against Detroit, so he had a cupcake matchup, but he struck out 7 guys. He looked pretty good. I watched the start that night. He's just 4,500. It just does so much for you offensively. If he can get you 14 points again, that's pretty massive at this price point. So for me, it's clear cut. And I always end up going up to these studs just because the way I build teams and the way JT I know builds teams, we can always find bats. Like you can always find some cheap guys to get in there, a cheap stack. So I always kind of end up just getting up to the expensive guys when I end up building because I always like playing the cheap bats that are 2% owned. Gets you different. If they have a big game, you have a chance to win. But if you're more of a chalk offense guy where you want to play the 1 through 5 in one of the offenses that we talk about, then you can play a guy like Dane Dunning. That's more of a chalk path, though, than I like. But I do like him. Like, I think he gets, 14 fantasy points. And for 4,500, that's a solid little total. So he'd be the only cheap guy for me, though, today.
Yeah, JT, any love for Dunning down there, and anyone else that you see down at the bottom, or is it just Dunning and pretty much everyone kind of at the top that we already talked about?
Yeah, I think it's Dunning, and it's interesting because I think Dunning can get those 14, 15 points on DraftKings. That's okay, but the RPS model is all over the Royals, and it loves Ryan O'Hearn, it loves Mondesi in the 7-hole, and I don't mind like playing the Royals and playing Dunning if you want. I see these other guys that are in that range that are going to get some ownership, like Delby Garcia for the Yankees and even Seth Lugo for the Mets. And I'm not going to do that on a slate like this where I have top options that I feel really confident in. I'm not going to take a chance. I know Aaron Boone is not going to leave Delby Garcia in the game for very long, right? I don't know how much Seth Lugo is going to pitch. I expect Porcello to give up, quite honestly, a bunch of runs, but I don't know if he's going to get more than 3 innings. So it's just not a risk I'm going to take on this slate. But I know, like Tony said, right, Dunning is going to get 80 to 85 pitches, and he's probably going to strike out 5 or 6 of these Royals. So, and I expect the White Sox, he may end up with a win in like an 8-7 game, and you're like excited about everybody you played with.
Yeah. All right, boys, I think we hit the pitching pretty good. Let's move it on to the hitters. We'll go game by game. So let's start with this, the New York game, Mets versus the Yankees. JT, I'm going to bring it to you first, keep it with you. What do we like here? Do we like the Yankees, or is anyone in this game?
You know, when I was going through and doing the playbook, I looked at this game, and then I didn't really do anything with it. And then I came back to it just after seeing the Yankees ownership against Rick Porcello. They're going to be under 5% owned against Rick Porcello. And I was like, that's hurtful. That it's such disrespect to the Yankees that they're not going to get ownership, and the run totals are low. But I'm going to have some Yankees. I mean, Ford sticks out to me at 2-8 in the middle of that lineup. You want to play Snell, you want to play Maeda, you can legit stack the Yankees and get 2 aces on this slate and literally go anywhere else. And that seems tasty to me.
Yeah, I like the Yankees too. I'm with you. They were a team where when I was just kind of doing my initial look in the morning, I was like, oh, but I don't think people are going to play the Yankees. And then when I started to see kind of projections start to come out, that kind of like assured me, okay, like, yeah, the Yankees are going to be overlooked. And then we've got the cheap pitcher, from Dunning, who we can have. Some of these Yankees bats are expensive, obviously, but like, I like these Yankees. And the problem is then they roll out the lineup and most of them are cheaper. So it's like now I can play Yankee stack and I don't have to play Dunning if I don't want to. I can go the route of 2 expensive pitchers, which is what I want to do today. And then I can play this cheap Yankee stack. So, I mean, Tony, I like it. What about you? Do you like any of these New York teams, or is this a game you're off?
So there's definitely game theory for playing the 7-inning games, but if the Yankees are winning, you're only getting 6 at bats. I have a much harder time playing. I know they're cheap. It makes sense. And again, I'll circle back. Like game theory wise, I agree with you guys. Like no one's going to play them, blah, blah, blah. But man, it's a big slate. There's a lot of offense. It's tough for me to sign up for maybe only 6 at bats. And I don't know. Jordy Mercer's way better against lefties. I think Porcello's reverse splits anyways, but either way, I just can't do it. I mean, I get what you guys are saying. I get the matchup's really good. If it was 9 innings, even if it was maybe the home team was flipped and we could get for sure 7 innings of the Yankees, maybe it's just tough, man. If they're winning, which I think they will be winning because they're just better than the Mets in this spot. I mean, you're only going to get 6 at bats. That's tough for me. So a big slate. If it was a lesser slate, maybe 2, but I think I'm gonna stay clear of this game.
All right, that's fair. Let's move it on then. We got the Cubs versus the Reds. Tony, we're going to stick with you. What are you thinking on this game? Is this a game that you're interested in?
Yeah, so Castillo's been maybe one of the weirdest pitchers for me this year because I think he's really good. I love his stuff. I was super excited. Obviously, living in Cincinnati, I'm excited about the Reds, but he just hasn't looked great, and I don't know the reason. I hope JT can clarify too, because he's more of a true baseball guy, so he might have a little more insight than me. Hasn't looked great to me, and I don't know. Like this offense, I look at the lineup today. I've been all over the Reds lineup, but they don't have my boy Freddie in there. I missed my boy Freddie who has 8 bombs now, by the way. Just crushing from down in that 7 or 8 hole wherever he hits, but he's not in there today. You got Mark Payton, Jose Garcia, Shogo, who's been awful. But then you look at the implied is still over 5. So those prices at the bottom, man, you'll have to close your eyes to click them. But they're going against Chatwood. I could see him scoring some runs, I guess. I mean, Winker hit another bomb. He's been good. Moustakas, always you can play, but those guys are expensive. So I don't know. I want to hear what JT thinks about Castillo because we didn't talk too much about him in the pitchers.
JT, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so just because of the fact that he hasn't been good is normally a reason why I'd want to go and play him. But even in a great matchup against the Brewers, his last start out, he's just getting too many guys on base. And when he first came up, he had an issue with lefties. He was giving up a lot of hard contact to lefties. And that's sort of come back a little bit where he has trouble with lefties. Those are the guys that he puts on base, and he'll walk one, and then he'll give up a dong, and then he'll strike a guy out. And he just hasn't been consistent. And this Cubs team has quietly been very good. And, Rizzo, the other night I wanted to play Rizzo and Schwarber, and the weather took me off, because they were both in the top 10 in hard contact against right-handed pitchers over the last 10 days. And Rizzo, I mean, he had 2 bombs yesterday in the doubleheader. So I have some interest in guys like Moustakas and Winker and some interest in Rizzo. I really don't have a lot of interest in the pitchers. If you're running a lot of lineups, you could take a chance that Castillo gets right today, but I have more confidence in the other guys that we mentioned.
All right. Let's move on. Tampa versus Miami. We talked about Blake Snell. Tony thinks he's the best pitcher on the slate. JT likes him too. And then we've got Alcantara, however you want to say his name. What are we doing here, JT? Do we like any of the bats from this game, or is this game just a complete stay away? Because it looks to me like it's kind of a complete stay away.
Yeah, pretty much outside of Snell. Alcantara, this is his first start coming back from the coronavirus, and I'm sure he's healthy, but I'm also sure that Don Mattingly's going to have a shorter leash. The Marlins do have one of the bottom 5 bullpens in the game, but there's just other spots here. Although if you wanted to pick out a one-off, Choi is down at 3.3, and Kiermaier, I hate that he's batting 8th, is 2.4, but I don't love anything in this game outside of Snell.
Tony, are you agreeing with JT, or do you like anything?
Yeah, I mean, if Alcantara wasn't just coming back, I think he had COVID or something even. Like, I'd for sure have interest in him too. So definitely no bats. This is like as cut and dry of a cross-off game as you could possibly have for me. Like, I couldn't even imagine playing these 2 offenses.
All right, well, let's move on to the Twins versus the Tigers. Another game where we got Maeda pitching. Both you guys are pretty high on him. But do we like these Twins bats? Because I'm assuming no one likes the Tigers bats. And unless, Tony, we'll start with you. I mean, do you have interest in either of these 2 sides?
I mean, my baseball mind is just so evil to me because last start, Maeda was coming off the 115 pitch. Everyone said he'd have a little bit harder of a time because he doesn't usually go deep. His arm might be tired, blah, blah, blah. He looked great again. Something in my head in baseball, the contrarian side of me wants to play at least one Detroit team where maybe the second start after that long start gets Maeda a little tired with the arm. Again, it's pure game theory. It's pure. There's no stats. There's nothing. Maeda's looked awesome. It's literally just the contrarian side of me, but I have a tiny, tiny bit of interest in Detroit as a pure contrarian stack and hoping Maeda's arm is tired from a couple starts ago.
Okay, JT, do you agree with this take, or are you just off the Tigers and maybe on some Twins? What do you think?
No, from the perspective of what he's saying, I was one of the people who last start was like, Maeda's going to get rocked, right? Because I came into the season expecting Maeda to get rocked just because he's been inconsistent. But he hasn't been inconsistent this year. There is going to be a start where he's going to give up runs. I don't know when it is. I don't know. They played 2 games yesterday. They scored some runs yesterday. I could see the play, and he's right. Especially if Maeda ends up being 45% owned, yes, have some Detroit if you're running a bunch of lineups. I just see their strikeout upside, and Maeda continues to surprise. But like if he was 10-5, it would be clear, right? If he was 10-5 on DK, I'd be like, oh, that's a stupid price, and I'm going to stack against him. But I don't know. I like Maeda a good bit today.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Let's move on to the Washington Nationals versus the Boston Red Sox. Let's keep it with you, JT. This Nationals team, to me, looks like they could be an interesting team to stack up today. I do like them a little against Godley. Talk about this game and which side you're heavier on.
Yeah, I like both sides of this game, actually, because Godley has been really bad. He walks so many batters. He gives up so much hard contact. Austin Voth has been bad. He's 2 negative DK performances in a row. The Boston team has been much less consistent than the Washington team, but I think they'll be a little bit lower owned because of that. But yeah, I like this spot a lot. Juan Soto didn't do a whole lot last night, but I think this is a good spot for him to get to have another big game here. And then you've got Thames in the 4-hole, which is, I think that might be the highest he's been slotted in the batting order so far this year. And at 3-5 against that Godley and a literally non-existent bullpen, I mean, I think they're having tryouts on Yawkey Way every day to see who's going to pitch the 5th through 9th innings. Yeah, I like Wash. I said, in the playbook that Washington may be in the best spot of any team today.
Yeah, I love it. I also like Cabrera, even though he's at 4,500. I do like him in the 3-hole. I like the Thames call. Tony, JT likes both sides of this game. I think we can both agree the Washington might be in a little
game. And the crazy part is Boston's favorite in this game. I know they're only a slight favorite, but they're favored. So Boston, you have to have some interest, and they're going to be pretty low owned too, especially now that they traded Moreland while we were on the show too. So they're not going to have Moreland. I don't know what the lineup is going to shake out to be, but the lineup's going to be pretty ugly, I think. So people might be off them. I like it. I like I know game stack doesn't mean anything in baseball, but just to have all the bats in this game, I mean, it's still a game stack type thing, and I like it. We could see a ton of runs. Thames in the 4-hole looks really, really good. As Drubel against a righty, I always like. For whatever reason, I always hate playing lefties in this park, but it's just as good for offense. It's just a mental thing for me with the monster being in left, obviously. I like both teams, though. Soto, Thames, as Drubel. Man, that could be my little 3-man from Washington and then play 5 Boston guys. Could be a nice little plan.
Let me just jump in here because I just got an alert that the Red Sox traded Mitch Moreland within the last couple of minutes. It's interesting, and that's something to watch for guys that are playing up until Monday, is that these teams like the Red Sox, even the Angels, it's one of the things I thought about last night with Bundy, and one of the reasons why I didn't have enough of them is because I'm like, this guy might get traded in the second inning. So I don't know what that lineup's going to look like.
Yeah, and then one guy in the chat, Landa, he asked, he wanted us to kind of just touch on real quick, what you're looking for when you're talking about like a one-off, because we always use that term like one-off, and so pretty much his question was like, what makes a good one-off, or how do you like look for one? So, I mean, JT, do you want to just like hit on that real quick, how you kind of go about that? Because like for me too, when we talk about one-offs, a lot of times we also will talk about a team that we don't love to stack, but we like to take a piece of. like we like this guy. We think this guy is in a good spot, maybe because he's got a good matchup, righty-lefty split or whatever. He hammers lefties, and we like this guy. Or like Tony talks about Freddie Galvis all the time because he's cheap always, and he likes him against, certain I forget bad righties, I think it was, or something like that. So what makes a good one-off to you? Because I know there's a few different answers to this.
Yeah, for me, it's a player that is in a matchup with a pitcher that I'm not necessarily playing, but also not necessarily targeting against. So one of those guys that almost like a Randy Dobnak sometimes this year, where he's been good enough getting ground balls, but he doesn't really strike anybody out. And so I'm not going to target the whole team, but I've got a guy in, usually for me, somewhere in the top 5 of the lineup, price depressed, so a little bit cheaper. A good split, like you said, the hitter's in their strong split. So if it's a lefty that hits righties well, you want that. And then I'll dig a little deeper on most of these slates and look at how hitters are faring in terms of hard hit rate against that hand of pitcher over the last 10 days, and look at the top 10 of those guys. And if I see one of those guys that jumps out, but I don't like the team, that's what I might put them in the pool for that.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, anything on what you look for? I mean, we kind of know you kind of talk about it already, but I mean, anything else you look for when you're looking at one-offs in your lineup?
I mean, so I build baseball super different than a lot of people will, where I want to be super different with my +1s and my random guys, where I'm going to be unique, where some of my biggest days are when these random guys just go off because you got them 2% owned. And you always there's got to be some reason you like them too, whether they hit lefties good or hit righties good, or you just want to be different at least with that. Like I never want to play, I shouldn't say never, because there's always a time. Like if I have a super contrarian team, maybe I play a really chalky guy as my +1, but it's hard to say without like clarifying the exact spot.
Yeah, I will say though, you do like to get different a lot of times with your +1s. That's definitely
like if I had a chalky team, I would never have a chalky +1 is a simple way to put it. Like if I had a really contrarian team, maybe I have a chalky +1. Just literally
you would never play Mike Trout as your +1 with your chalk stack.
Yeah, and to be honest, I use Trout a lot of times as my +1 if I have a really contrarian stack with it. Like maybe your contrarian stack hits and all of a sudden you got the late hammer that's Mike Trout to bring you home like that. I don't think you should have all contrarian or all chalk ever in DFS, any sport.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move it on, boys. Let's talk about the Royals versus the White Sox. White Sox, a team that's, been on fire. Our guy Travis has been on point, pretty much this whole week on the White Sox. What are we doing here with this game? Tony, I'm going to bring it to you first. Do we like the White Sox today? Do we like the Royals? Dunning's going to be he probably is going to be somewhat popular because he's so cheap. What are we thinking here?
So I really got my attention when JT talked about the Royals when we were talking about pitching, because man, they look nice in there with 2 stud pitchers with them. Like O'Hearn, super cheap. Franco, cheap. Gordon, like basically min price. Mondesi, basically min. I mean, these guys, that caught my attention a little bit because I'm interested. A lot of people are going to play this Dunning, and man, that's good leverage. And yeah, I love the White Sox too. I mean, Timmy Anderson, I'm going to start making a list just so I can have like a thing, but he's definitely towards the top of my list. Lefty. Anytime there's a lefty, Timmy Anderson in the 1 hole is going to be one of my favorite plays. I want to write him down so I can remember him, because I never remember him until I actually see it. And people would laugh at some of the guys I have that are lefty and righty mashers. But Timmy Anderson, I mean, is definitely towards the top. Eloy Jimenez has been amazing. And Brady's been amazing. McCann's always pounded lefties. You got some cheap guys at the bottom that might suck, but they're dirt cheap too. Nothing wrong with a little wraparound 7, 8, 9, 1, 2 type thing. The White Sox are obviously every day we're going to like them, especially in this matchup. But I think you can mix the Royals in too, kind of like that Red Sox game, where these are my 2 favorite games. I think as we work our way down, I'm going to focus a lot of my attention on these 2 games. And I didn't like the Royals coming into the show, But that's why I like doing these shows. JT kind of caught my ear with it, and now I definitely want some Royals exposure.
Yeah, I agree. I like this game too. JT, you brought up the Royals. You talked them up a little bit, but kind of elaborate a little bit on why you like them, and then obviously the White Sox as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's price, some of it's, like I said, our model internally here at RPS, the numbers just jumped off the page for the Royals. And there's been a couple of times where I've seen that, and I'm like, well, wait a second, what's going on here? And actually, one of the times was with the Tigers. And so then I looked, and I remembered yesterday, Gordon, the Royals weren't on the main slate last night, and I didn't play during the day. And Gordon has been raking in terms of hard hit contact rate against righties over the last week. He hit a home run yesterday, and they dropped his price. So that was a nice gift. And Mondesi is just, he's got so much more talent than he's displayed so far this year. And even in the 7-hole, just 2-6 is too cheap. If he gets on, you know he's stealing bases. And O'Hearn there in the 4-hole. I mean, a 2-7 hitter in the 4-hole against a guy making his second start in the big leagues, you know, that's pretty appetizing. So, and if you include that little stack there, you know, obviously you're going to look at guys like Dozier and Soler if you're playing more than one Royals lineup, but you can do a game stack here. You can put them with Washington, and you can get Woodruff. I just did it. You could get Woodruff and Snell. You could get Woodruff and Maeda. So it makes a lot of things easy for a very cheap price. And I don't think the Royals are going to have a ton of ownership today. I think it's going to be concentrated elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like this game as well. Let's move on to the Pittsburgh Pirates versus the Milwaukee. I was going to say Bucks for a second. Milwaukee Brewers. JT, I'm going to keep it with you because you talked about both these teams, and you specifically said you liked the Brewers a little bit to score some runs. Now, the Brewers have been struggling in that department. So talk about why you like them a little more today.
Yeah, they gave Yelich a day off, and it obviously helped him a little bit because he came back and he hit a homer, and I think he got a stolen base yesterday. Scherko went double down the other night when everybody was giving me a bit of a hard time for being on the Brewers against the GOAT, Derek Holland, but that worked out pretty well. Ryan Braun over the past 10 days has been in the top 10 of hard hit contact against lefties. You're only going to see Brault here for a couple of times through the order. So they're not, you know, and Jacob Nottingham at 2-3 is a nice punt catcher. Yes, he's in the 9-hole, but if you want to get those two stud pitchers and you're looking for a punt catcher, you can do much worse than Nottingham, who hit a bomb the other night as well. So there's some pieces in this line. Here has been bad. He's actually better against righties than he is against lefties. But the Pirates bullpen is very bad. And so, you know, I like the Brewers a little bit. They're probably my 5th ranked stack, but I am running a bunch of lineups, and I'm going to have some Brewers in there, and I'm not going to have any Pirates today. I'm on Woodruff pretty solidly.
All right, Tony, what do you think about the Brewers today? Are you on board with JT, or do you have a different take about the Brewers?
Yeah, I don't think I can get on the Brewers. I liked them the other night against the lefty. I just hate when they play this Brault because if he starts getting beat up, they just take him out, which I hate that. Like, I want these guys that if they get beat real hard, they just leave them in there to take their medicine a little bit. I don't know. The Brewers have just let me down more times than not. The other night they did come through for us, though, so maybe the momentum shifted. And they've had a big total every single night as far as implied. So maybe they're trying to turn the corner a little bit offensively. But, man, I look at this lineup, and the guys I want to play are priced up, and I just don't want to pay these prices for them. So I'm going to stick with those other games. And, again, I try to keep my stacks down to 3 or 4 teams per day, so – I agree with JT, though. They'd be probably my 5th or 6th stack, and I just don't want to go that deep on this slate.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably not on this game from the hitter standpoint. Let's move on to the Cleveland Indians versus St. Louis Cardinals. Sorry. I'm just like – I'm so basketball right now doing both of these things. Tony, keep it with you here. What are we thinking for this game? I think the Indians kind of jump out at me as a team that, you know, I shouldn't overlook today. I don't think St. Louis is going to make the cut for me, but talk about, maybe the Indians for you, or do you not like this game at all from a hitter standpoint?
Yeah, this game looks like an easy fade for me. A lot of these games we're going to get to now are easier and easier fades. I think are different reasoning for it, but I say it every time. Again, I talked about it with the lefty facing Timmy Anderson, but I say it every slate. Naquin against these righties, and he's 2,500. I like that type of play as a +1. Like, no one will have him. He gives you salary relief. He gives you everything I want in a +1. So when the guy asked earlier what it is, Naquin is a perfect example of it because he gives everything I want. And again, it's not a great spot. I mean, they don't have a super high total, but the low ownership, the cheap price tag, the upside of having some power against righties checks all the boxes for me. So that would be my only interest in the game, though.
All right, JT. Big T likes Naquin as a one-off. Do you like any other one-offs, or you have a different take about the stack for this game?
No, I mean, again, this is another matchup where I kind of glossed over, just looked at the run totals and said, and then I remember, all right, I like Savali a little bit, but Wainwright's been giving up, I think, the 4th most hard contact on this slate. And, the Cardinals bullpen has been, Indians scored 14 runs on the road the other night. I don't remember when the last time the Indians did that on the road, but I can guarantee it's been a while. So I think Naquin's a guy who's in the top 10 or 15 in hard contact against righties the last 10 days as well. And, the middle of that lineup is maybe interesting as a little mini stack there against Wainwright. But other than that, I don't have a lot of interest in the hitters in this game.
All right, perfect. Well, let's move it on to the last game on the slate because the Oakland-Houston game got postponed. So the Dodgers versus the Rangers will be the last game we hit on today.
More on the Fanduel that we can go over to real quick.
Yeah, we can get over to those in a second, but let's hit on this final DK one. JT, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I'm just, I did it the other night with Dustin May. I was like, oh, Dustin May's in a great spot. And these guys just, there's no consistency to, outside of Bueller really normally, who gets innings when they start for Dave Roberts. So I'm off of him. Gibson is giving up, I think, the most hard contact on the slate. And the Dodgers busted out yesterday. This park is a little bit of a downer. I don't believe they're going to have the roof open. If they did, I'd have a lot of interest in the Dodgers, but I would say I have moderate interest in the Dodgers. They're a team I'm definitely going to have some of, but the Texas bullpen has been wasn't great earlier in the season. It's been a little bit better the last few weeks until last night. So guys like Bellinger and Seager are guys that I think I have some interest in. Other than that, I like the other spots a little better.
Yeah, Tony, this game to me looks like a stay away. I'm probably not going to have much from it. Are you in the same boat, or do you have a different take?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers always get enough interest to where they'll always get some ownership, 10% range. So I think I'm going to fade too. I hate the park. I was heavy on the Dodgers 2 days ago. They let me down, and they came back yesterday and scored a bunch of runs. I just don't like this park. I like the other spots more. I get why people would play it. I mean, they got a ton of power against Gibson, who's been getting shelled, tons of hard contact. But I don't like the park. I like other spots more, so I'm just going to fade.
And this is a 7-inning game, correct, JT?
The Dodgers? I don't think this is 7.
I see this in the chat. Someone's talking about
the
Yankees,
chat. I think.
Oh, the Yankees. Okay, my bad. I was going to say, I saw a 7-game inning, and I thought they were talking about the game we were on. All right, so let's the Yankees are the only 7-gamer that we have, right, on the DK slate, just to clarify for everyone.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not my top stack. It's when I look and I see no one's going to play them, I know I'm taking a risk. So I'm not saying it's my top stack. I know I'm taking a risk, but if I don't look into history all that much, but when a pitcher consistently gets dominated by a team, and Porcello's not good anymore. He's not the Cy Young winner. He's had a lefty issue pretty much his whole career. And I look and I see these prices and I say, if Porcello gives up 6 runs in 2 2/3 innings, am I in a good spot if I have those cheap Yankees? And I am. So it's not my top stack, but I have some interest in it just because no one's going to play it.
And maybe it's a spot where maybe you don't full stack it. Maybe you take a mini stack of some of those lefties that you talked about because he struggles more against lefties. And maybe they hit a bomb each. You know what I mean? You got 2 guys that hit a bomb at those cheap prices. You're not going to complain even if they only get 1 or 2 more at bats, right? Like
every time I turn on a Yankee game and Tauchman and Ford are in the lineup, it's like magic. Every time I turn the channel, one of them is circling the bases from a home run. I mean, those 2 big, heavy set lefties, Babe Ruthian style out of Yankee Stadium. It's uncanny.
I'm a big fan of Tauchman, so you can guarantee I will have some of him in my lineup, even if it just as a +1. That guy, special spot for me. So let's talk about the FanDuel slate a little bit because it is a little different. We've got a few more games than on the DraftKings slate. So let's kind of run through this a little bit. Start off with the Baltimore versus the Toronto game. Tony, let's start it off with you here. What are we liking from this game? Do you like any of the bats, or is this game like a game you want to stay away from?
So first of all, I think the FanDuel slate is a lot harder than the DK slate because you throw in these 4 late games, which we're not going to have lineups, obviously, more than likely before the early lock. And you have a bunch of good offenses and a bunch of good spots to where the slate, to me, is much harder on FanDuel. There's a lot more places to go, a lot more risk in it. So I'll be playing more on DK today than FanDuel. But, yeah, all the good offenses are on FanDuel and not DK, starting with Toronto, both sides of this game. Roark, I never liked Roark. Lopez, I mean, Toronto's just pounding the ball right now. Lineup's going to look good. Park's been pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, I like both of these teams. It gets hard on FanDuel. This is why I don't love the slate. We talked about 4 sides that I like a lot already. The Boston game, the White Sox game, and then we even talked about a few other spots. And now all of a sudden you throw in these 4 games. You just have too many teams. You're going to have to take hard stances in certain directions. I don't think I can play this game even on FanDuel, so I'm going to fade. But, man, it's scary fading this Toronto team against a pitcher like Jorge Lopez.
Yeah, I talked about I'm not a big fan of these huge slates when they're more than 10 games, just like not a real fan of it.
And the time, like it's so much later in the day. We don't have I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of it either.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, all right, JT. So Tony talked about the Baltimore-Toronto game. Toronto bats are in a good spot. Do you disagree with anything he said, or are you kind of just on board with what he said?
No, I hate the FanDuel, all day. Let's throw every single game being played today on the slate. I just think it's hard enough when you got 10 or 12 games and it's just, one condensed time period. This is, you're going to be going until 7 o'clock here. So these last 4 games though, you look at team totals, 5-8, 5-9, 5, 5-8. I wouldn't use the only pitcher that I would consider using if you're playing on FanDuel, and I wouldn't use him a lot, is Griffin Canning, just as a bounce back at 6'3" if you wanted to go cheap there. But if I'm going to focus on the late games, it's probably going to be something other than Toronto-Baltimore.
All right, so Toronto-Baltimore is your favorite. I mean, let's just hit on Coors because everyone wants to talk about Colorado. And if you faded Colorado last night, I think it worked out for you, pretty well, I would say. Tony, I kind of already know what your take is because you're similar to me when it comes to Colorado, but just talk about it real quick. Just hit on it. What are you doing here?
Yeah, it just sucks. Like I said, I hate it. I hate that you have to have all this stuff in there, but I'm just going to fade it. I get it. San Diego has over a 7-run implied. They're going to be chalky. It is what it is. It's Coors Field. Same thing you could say every day. It's a great spot. You could be sitting great when this game starts, and they could score 25 runs in this game between the 2 teams and just destroy the slate. So I'm not a fan, but they'll get ownership. I'm gonna I'm not going to play it. So if it goes off, I'll probably lose on FanDuel. If it doesn't, I'll have a chance to win.
Exactly how I think. And if you just kind of stick to that strategy, whether it's one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Like if you stick to it, it's probably going to work out for you, a couple times.
I think you have to. It's way harder to flip back and forth. Like then you're going to guess right one day. It's always the same spot. Like just play it or don't play it and know what it is. You have to know the risks. Like when it goes off, you're probably going to lose. And the crazy part is though, even if you play it and it goes off, you're still not guaranteed to win because it's so chalky.
And I'm not saying anything about anyone, but it kind of shows the type of player that you are, right?
Yeah.
Like the chalkier people, the people who play cash games, those are the people that will always lean more to Colorado and Coors. The people who throw their cash lineup in all the GPPs, right? Which is like, in my mind, it's crazy. Like you just never do it. And they
Especially
only do
in
it because they only do it because like if it's the nuts and they don't have it and everything, they'll be sick. But it's more of like, okay, we're okay with min cashing type thing because they know they're not just like going to outright ship most of the time. So that's kind of one of the things for me. So you're either on it or not. But like if you're like me or Tony, I don't know JT's thoughts on it, so I want to get his. JT, what do you do with like the Colorado when games are being played in Colorado?
Yeah, I do try and pick the matchups, but you guys are both right. You're gonna be wrong almost more often than not, just because of the environment there. This game on this slate for FanDuel makes it unplayable for me, quite honestly, because you've got two pitchers that ordinarily, given the way they're pitching this year, you're gonna stack against guys that are giving up that much hard contact. You're gonna play the offense against them. Plus, you have the environment. So if you're playing on FanDuel, and you're running a bunch of lineups, I definitely think you have to include this. But if you never play it, then you never play it.
All right, guys. So let's just hit these other games real quick. We've got Tony. I'll start with you. Like any of these other games, Seattle versus LA Angels. Like, does this game look okay to you? Do you like any of the bats? I think Griffin Canning, like JT said, is an interesting, pitching option if you're making multiple lineups. But anything from this game?
Yeah, you can almost just throw the whole 4 late games in for me on FanDuel, how I would treat it. I'm just not going to play much of it. Again, I'm probably only going to play one team on FanDuel, just my main team. I doubt I play any of these late guys. But again, it's what makes the slate sucks. The Angels have a really high upside spot. The D-backs and the Giants both have high upside. Coors, obviously, Toronto. It's just a bad slate. It honestly is. We're always honest. It's tough. There's just so many ways this slate could go on FanDuel, and it makes it way harder. It sounds like we're making excuses, but it's baseball. Like, these teams could go off. You can't play everyone. So if I was going to play anyone on the 4 late games on FanDuel, it would be the Giants would be my side. They've looked really good. Their prices are actually pretty fair. And Taylor Clark sucks. The park's good. And I just like the Giants lineup. They've been good to us all year. They're going to be completely unowned on FanDuel. They would be my team. But, again, I'm sticking with those 2 games today. I'm going to stick with the Boston game and the White Sox game.
All right. Yeah, JT, just give me, like, your favorite team in these late games.
Yeah, I'm actually with Tony. I would play the Giants. I've had a Diamondbacks problem. I've played them a lot, and I might have a Giants problem now just because I love Yaz. I really like Dickerson. He's cheap. And Belt's been just smashing the ball. So, and your guy Wilmer hit a homer last night, even against a righty. So, yeah.
The lineup is just good, honestly. Yeah. Like, they just rake.
Yeah. So the Giants there. I wouldn't go back to the Angels after they scored. They scored 16 runs last night, 14 runs. I don't know. Scoring. That was hurtful, waking up to see that when I didn't have a lot of Angels. So, yeah, I wouldn't go back to them. But yeah, the Giants would be my play.
Love it. What did you stop? Did your earphones go out? JSU lost his sound. I think we're almost to the – so, JT, name your top 3 stacks, and then I'll do it. We can get out of here pretty soon anyways. We've covered everything. What's your 3 favorites?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Nationals, White Sox, and Royals are the top three.
I like it. I mean, when we're on the same page, good things happen. And I think we're kind of on those two games. In Boston, I want to see the schedule or the lineup. I mean, I like the Royals. I think the Royals, man, they look good ever since you said that. I'm going to focus on those two games.
Yeah. Are you going to run Detroit? Let's just spend like a minute talking about the chances. The chances that Detroit becomes one of the top two values on the slate.
So the issue is, man, we've talked about the slate. On FanDuel, I definitely can't do it because there's not enough offense. But on DK, I think the issue is there's just going to be too much offense on the slate. Even if they hit him, I don't know. That's why I like to talk through the whole slate. I don't hate it, but maybe it's the type of thing where I just throw a +1 in there or something if I did it, like the Candyman or something at 25. Or I always like Nico Goodrum against a righty. Like maybe I play those two guys, and definitely not a full stack though. I can't do it, especially when we can stack a game like Washington and Boston. Like there's no way that game doesn't end up like 8-7. It looks like to me, and same thing with the White Sox. So.
12 or 13 mile an hour wind blowing out of Fenway. So
yeah, nice. I mean, that game looks very, very tasty. So I think we're on the same page, though. We lost our man. Is JSU back? Or
I'm back.
You back?
You guys are having me too long. My headphones just die out. And then there was an audio problem with Zoom. I had to put my password in or something to figure it out.
I draw a winner, and then we can get out of here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to say, I like the Washington side against Boston for MLB. I think that's the side I'm going to be heaviest on. And I like the Thames call. I think I'm going to play some Thames, Juan Soto, Asdrubal Cabrera. Those are the three main guys I'm going to build around and then just get a little different. But, yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Red Sox side as well. I mean, that's where I'm going. So, yeah.
When are we going to get this freaking Red Sox lineup is the question. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And with Moreland out, it could be real ugly. But, JT, anything else? Talk about the playbook real quick. You had hit the playbook today. Talk about it real quick. Give the people, a little taste of, what it is and what you do. And,
Yeah, so we put together our top stacks, top pitchers, and then a few top plays at each position, and a little bit about strategy and how we're thinking about attacking the slate. And that happens every day. It's out most weekdays. It's out by 4:00, and Sunday it was out at about 11:00 this morning. So plenty of time for you guys to digest it and decide whether or not you agree, disagree, want to go different places, or pick out the plays. I will say this, and I was saying it in our Discord on Friday night. If you throw those individual plays into an optimizer and ask it for just a 4-man stack and then build around that, I think there were 8 or 9 home runs in that playbook on Friday night. So we do a pretty good job at capturing the homers and the guys that have big upside on any given night.
Yeah, I love it. Tony, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think JT and Uncle T, I mean, they've handled the playbook pretty much every day and just crushed with it. So, yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time in there, just because it's on there, you need to have a reason to play it. When they blame us for the good plays and the bad plays, both, you need to believe in the plays. No matter what, if you don't like it, don't play it. If you don't like PJ Dozier tonight with me, don't play it. But just have a reason for what you do. And I mean, they're doing a great job. In the core plays, I mean, everything in there. There's tons of resources over at Run Pure. Check it out. I think we've been pretty successful out of the gate. So come join and see if we can keep this going.
Yep. And I just scrolled Daniel Zoomerdijk. I don't know if I butchered that last name, but Daniel Zoomerdijk, you got some Run Pure swag coming your way. So hit up Big T in the Discord or hit him up at Big T44 on Twitter. But, guys, we got to get out of here. I'm going to be hanging out in Discord in the NBA channel for, the last 30 minutes. So I got to get my core plays up before the slate locks. So I'll see you guys there. But, again, for me, JSU, Big T, and JT, we'll see you later.